I will tell you a secret, and if you are wise, you will listen not with your ears, but with your heart. For the words I am about to share with you have changed my life forever. I stand before you not as a man of luck, but as a man who discovered the divine laws of consciousness. And I did not win the lottery once. I did not win it twice. I won it 8 times, not by chance, not by effort, but by repeating a few sacred words. Words that summoned the unseen into form. Words that echoed through the chambers of my imagination and turned themselves into gold. The outer world is only a reflection of the inner conversation. This is the fundamental truth I want you to grasp tonight. If you can accept this truth, not intellectually, not academically, but viscerally, you will unlock the same power that I discovered. I do not come to you as a gambler. I come to you as a mystic, a creator, and so are you. The lottery is merely a symbol. Money is merely an effect. The cause of wealth, the cause of abundance, the cause of repeated miracles lies not in the ticket or the numbers or the odds, but in the assumption, yes, the bold assumption, that you are already in possession of what you desire. When I tell you that I won the lottery 8 times by repeating certain words, I am telling you that I impressed upon my subconscious mind a reality that was not yet visible to the eyes, but was more real than the world itself. What were those words? I will tell you soon. But you must first understand the law behind them. For without the law, the words are powerless. Without the understanding, they are but echoes in a void. But with understanding, they become the voice of God speaking into existence your every desire. In the silence of my room, night after night, I withdrew from the senses. I turned inward. I closed my eyes not to sleep, but to awaken. I imagined. I felt. I spoke. And above all, I believed. I believed so completely in the reality of my desire that the outer world had no choice but to conform. It was not a matter of hoping, it was knowing. You see, the words I repeated were simple. It is done. I have won. That's it. It is done. I have won. But I did not merely say them. I felt them. I infused them with the feeling of victory, of excitement, of profound peace. I repeated them until they became the only truth I knew. I said them in the morning as I walked. I whispered them at night before sleep. I allowed no doubt, no contradiction, no outside opinion to interfere with the sacred temple of my belief. I remember the first time I won. I had not a single dollar in my account. My pockets were empty, but my imagination was rich. I closed my eyes and I saw the check. I saw the numbers. I saw my name. I heard the voice say, "Congratulations." And I said the words again. It is done. I have won. Over and over. I lived from the state of the wish fulfilled. I felt what it would feel like to walk into the store and claim my prize. I felt the weight of the joy in my chest. And then, as naturally as a seed becomes a tree, it happened. The numbers were drawn, and they were mine. The world called it luck. I called it law. And I did it again. You see, your imagination is not fantasy. It is the creative force of God within you. The world has taught you to ignore it, to dismiss it, to treat it as child's play. But I tell you, your imagination is more powerful than all the armies of the world. It creates realities. It molds substance. And when you combine it with unwavering belief, you become unstoppable. Each time I won, I went deeper into this knowing. I let go of needing to understand the how. The how belongs to the universe. The how is none of your business. Your job is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to live from the end, to act not as if something might happen, but as if it already has. I remember one evening, after my 3rd win, a friend asked me, "Aren't you afraid it won't work next time?" And I smiled, because I had already seen the next win in my imagination. I had already received the congratulations in my mind. I had already deposited the check in my vision. There was no fear, because there was no separation. The thing I desired and the one desiring it were already one. And so I said again, "It is done. I have won," not as a request, not as a plea, but as a declaration, a decree, a knowing. There is something divine in repetition. For every time you repeat the truth, you drive it deeper into the subconscious. And it is the subconscious, my friend, that brings all things to pass. Not effort, not struggle, not logic, but the subconscious mind, impressed with feeling, saturated with belief, creates realities in ways your conscious mind cannot comprehend. Let me be clear. I did not chase money. I did not beg for riches. I assumed abundance as my natural state. I declared it. I spoke it. I felt it. And it came not as a stranger, but as a faithful servant. You must learn to deny appearances. When the outer world shows you lack, you must turn within and feel wealth. When the world says impossible, you must say it is done. This is the art. This is the secret. And this is how I won the lottery 8 times. There was a night, the 5th win. I almost let doubt creep in. I saw the news. I saw the statistics. I heard the voices of reason saying, no one wins this many times. And for a moment the illusion of limitation tempted me. But I returned again to my words. I returned again to the inner sanctum. I repeated with more power, more love, more conviction. It is done. I have won. I said it while walking. I said it while bathing. I said it while lying in bed, until the illusion dissolved, and only the truth remained. The very next week, the numbers aligned once again. It is not about the lottery. Do you hear me? It is about alignment. It is about faith. It is about oneness with the desired state. The outer event is merely a symbol of inner certainty. The lottery could have been anything: health, love, success. But the law is the same. The method is the same. And the words are the same. It is done. I have won. These words carry power because they imply completion. Not wanting, not wishing, not waiting, but having. When you say, it is done, you collapse the future into the now. You make the invisible visible. You say to the universe, I no longer seek, I possess. And the universe, obedient to your every assumption, brings it to you. When I won for the 6th time, I did not even flinch. It felt natural, normal, as it should be. Because I had lived that win 1,000 times in my imagination. I had seen it, felt it, declared it. So when the check arrived, it was merely a shadow of something long since created in the invisible. Do not underestimate the simplicity of this. The mind likes complexity. It wants steps and strategies. But truth is always simple. The simplest truths hold the greatest power. These words, it is done, I have won, are not magical in themselves. They are magical because of the feeling you pour into them. They are magical because they represent the state of the wish fulfilled. You must say them not from desperation, but from fulfillment. You must say them not to make something happen, but because you know it already has. I remember before my 7th win, I sat quietly and asked myself, what would it feel like if I had already received it? Not what would I do, not what would I say, but what would I feel? That feeling, indescribable joy, gratitude, calm certainty. That feeling is the secret ingredient. And I bathed in that feeling. I saturated my mind with it. I let it drip into every word I spoke. And the words again were simple. It is done. I have won. The check came. The numbers matched. And the world called me lucky again. But I was not lucky. I was conscious. You are not here to hope. You are not here to wish. You are here to know. And to know you must feel. To feel you must imagine. And to imagine you must be still, and turn inward. The 8th time I won, I wept, not because of the money, but because I realized I had become the very power I once sought. I had become the embodiment of the truth. I no longer needed proof, for I was the proof. The outer world had become a mirror of my inner convictions. I no longer sought miracles. I became one. And so I speak to you now with certainty and love. The law is real. The power is within you. And these words, if spoken with conviction, with feeling, with faith, can change your life as they changed mine. It is done. I have won. Say them until your body believes. Say them until your heart beats differently. Say them until your mind no longer argues. Say them until the world must bow before your assumption. You are not separate from what you desire. You are not far from your miracle. It is already within you, waiting for your recognition. And when you speak the truth, not just with your lips but with your being, the world rearranges itself to make it visible. I do not ask you to believe me. I ask you to test it. Go into your room, close the door, withdraw from the noise, and repeat these words as if they were the very breath of God. It is done. I have won. Say them with joy, with stillness, with knowing, and then wait, not in anxiety, but in peace. Wait with the confidence of one who knows the seed must bloom. I won the lottery 8 times, not because I am special, but because I understood the law. You can do the same, not just with money, but with anything. The power is not outside you. The words are not external commands. They are inward awakenings. So now it is your turn. Say it. It is done. I have won. And do not wait to see the evidence. Become the evidence. Walk, breathe, move, and live as one who has already received. This is the way. This is the secret.
This is the law, and it is yours. When I say live as one who has already received, I mean fully immerse yourself in that state, not momentarily, not sporadically, but continuously. Let it be your dwelling place. Let it be your natural habitat. Every breath you take, let it be steeped in the reality of the wish fulfilled. Every glance, every step, every word you speak, let it come from the knowing that it is already yours. You must become so familiar with the feeling of your desire being real, that anything contrary to it begins to feel foreign, unnatural, out of place. Each of my 8 wins was not a result of chance, but of surrender. I surrendered not to fate, but to certainty. I stopped questioning, stopped hoping, stopped doubting. I stopped measuring time. I simply knew. There is a power in knowing, a magnetic pull that draws all things into harmony with your assumption. And when you stand firm in that knowing, you become immovable. You become the still point around which the universe must revolve. I have walked through grocery stores, reciting the words silently in my mind. I have sat in cars at red lights, eyes forward, breath slow, repeating them again and again. It is done. I have won, not in haste, not in panic, but in the calm, reverent tone of a priest speaking truth into the altar of the unseen. And then the call would come, or the announcement would flash across the screen, or the check would arrive. The outer world obeyed the inner command. Understand this clearly. Every time I said those words, I was not trying to convince anyone else. I was not performing a ritual for others to see. I was not doing it for likes or validation. I was aligning my inner world, harmonizing my thoughts, saturating my subconscious with the reality of fulfillment. The repetition was not for the universe. It was for me. It was to build a bridge of feeling so strong that no fact could break it. I want you to feel the sacredness of those words. I want you to feel the vibration they carry. Speak them slowly. Let them drip from your tongue like honey. It is done. I have won. Again, it is done. I have won. Let the words rise from your belly, not your head. Let them carry the weight of truth, not desire. Say them not because you need something, but because you have already received.
The imagination must be claimed. The mind, if left unguarded, will default to facts, limitations, past experiences. But you are not here to repeat the past. You are here to create, and creation begins with the unseen. Every one of my wins began not with a ticket, but with a vision, a feeling, an inner decree. The numbers were the echo, not the cause. The bank account was the effect, not the source. Yet, most people live backward. They wait to see before they believe. They wait for proof before they claim it. But the law requires that you reverse that order. You must claim it first. You must believe before seeing. You must say, it is done, even when your senses scream otherwise. Especially then, because that is the moment of transformation. That is the crossing over. I have heard people ask, but what if it doesn't work? And I tell them it always works. The question is not whether the law works. The question is whether you will persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled long enough for it to materialize. Doubt interrupts the signal. Fear delays the manifestation. But unwavering faith accelerates it. I remember a particular win, perhaps the 4th. I had been feeling a bit tired, a bit discouraged. Not because the law failed, but because I had allowed the opinions of others to penetrate my mind. No one wins this often, they said. It's rigged. It's random. And for a moment I forgot who I was. I allowed the shadow of doubt to linger. But then I returned again to the silence. I closed the door. I breathed deeply. And I returned to the words. It is done. I have won. This time I said them not with excitement, but with power, with finality, with the kind of certainty that cannot be argued with. And something shifted. The atmosphere changed. I felt the warmth return to my chest. I felt the tingle of truth in my spine. And I knew once again I had crossed the threshold. The money followed days later. And so, my dear friend, you must speak these words as one who knows, not as one who wants, not as one who wants, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. It is done. I have won. Speak them as though heaven itself has confirmed it, because it has. The moment you assume the state, the entire universe begins to conspire on your behalf. Paths clear. People move. Events align. All because you dare to assume. This law does not play favorites. It does not reward the lucky and punish the unlucky. It responds to the one who feels, the one who assumes, the one who embodies the end as though it were the beginning. And this is what I did, again and again and again. Each time I stood at the threshold of a new desire, I did not beg, I did not plead, I did not wonder. I simply entered the state. I clothed myself in it. I wore it like a second skin. I spoke the words, "It is done. I have won." And I let the feeling rise in me like a tide. I let it take me. I let it become me. And then the world responded, not with a whisper but with thunder. I want you to know that your words are not empty. They are seeds. And every seed, when watered with feeling, when nurtured with belief, must bear fruit. It is a law, a divine law, immutable, eternal. I became a living witness to this law, not once but 8 times. And still I know it is only the beginning. You can begin today. You don't need the perfect circumstances. You don't need the right ticket. You don't even need a reason. All you need is the willingness to turn within, to say the words, to feel the truth of them, to persist. Close your eyes now, just for a moment, and imagine. What would it feel like if your greatest desire had already come true? What would it feel like if the money were already in your hand? If the call had already come? If the reality you long for were already yours? That feeling, that is your portal. That is the door. Step into it with your words. Let your words be the key. It is done. I have won. And then walk as though it were true. Think as though it were true. Feel as though it were true. This is the great secret. Not the words themselves, but the consciousness behind them. Not the sound, but the knowing. And when the knowing is firm, the world bends. It cannot help but bend. And I tell you now, not as one trying to convince, but as one who has seen the power firsthand. You are already what you seek. You are already the winner. You are already in possession of it. Let your mind catch up to what your spirit already knows. Let your words align with what is already true in the unseen. Speak them again. It is done. I have won. Say it with reverence, with joy, with finality. Let nothing shake you from it. Let no appearance distract you. Let no voice dissuade you. For the truth, when spoken with conviction, becomes flesh. It walks among us. It takes form, and the world must bow before it. Do you feel it now, that quiet certainty, that subtle shift in your chest, that warm knowing that what you desire is already yours? That is the power. That is the magic. That is the God within you saying, yes, you have spoken and it is so. And so you continue. You live. You speak. You move in this world not as one who waits, but as one who has already received. This is the path. This is the way. This is the voice of creation speaking through you. Let that feeling deepen. Let it spread through your body, like sunlight pouring into a dark room. Each time you return to the words, "It is done. I have won." You are realigning with the source. You are stepping again into the center of the truth, and that truth does not waver, does not tire, does not forget. It is ever present, waiting for you to claim it. There were days when the outer world looked exactly the same, days when nothing seemed to move, when the old thoughts tried to creep back in, whispering lies of delay, of impossibility. But I had made a covenant with my imagination. I had married the vision of the end. I could not betray it. So I stayed faithful to the feeling. I kept the inner atmosphere saturated with the reality I had chosen. I refused to be impressed by facts. Facts are old, they are history. And I am not here to repeat history. I am here to create destiny. I chose to impress my subconscious with a new truth. And that truth, when fully accepted, had no choice but to reflect itself in form. The world is clay. Imagination is the hand. Words are the sculptor's tool. And belief is the fire that hardens it into reality. So I ask you again, what are you repeating in your mind? What inner words are shaping your outer world? Are you rehearsing problems or declaring solutions? Are you replaying memories or recording prophecies? Because whatever you repeat becomes your rhythm, and your rhythm becomes your result. When I won for the second time, I realized something critical. I was no longer reacting to the world. I was instructing it. My words were not descriptions. They were commands. They were divine orders issued from the throne of consciousness. It is done. I have won. Those words did not describe my current circumstances. They declared my chosen state. And the world, faithful as a mirror, had to reflect it. The very structure of reality bent to accommodate my assumption. And it will do the same for you. You see, it's not about the specific lottery ticket. That is merely the symbol, the channel. What you're truly doing is calling abundance from the formless into form. You are aligning with the frequency of your fulfilled desire.
When you dwell in that frequency long enough, when it becomes your home address, your permanent state of being, then manifestation becomes automatic, effortless, natural. That's what I discovered by the third time. I no longer needed to try. I simply needed to rest in the knowing. I didn't force, I didn't chase. I rested. And in that rest, everything came. I tell you truly, nothing stands between you and your desire, but your own inner conversation. Change the conversation, and the entire world changes with it. I changed mine. I stopped asking, will it happen, and began declaring it is done. I stopped wondering what if, and began affirming, I have won. Not I will, not I might. I have. I am. I do. These are the words of power. These are the vibrations that shape matter. There is no waiting in the mind of the one who knows. Time collapses under the weight of assumption. The future folds into the now. When you assume the end, truly assume it, time becomes your servant, not your master. This is why I could win again and again, because I had already gone to the end. And the end is always birth, not death. Creation, not repetition. Victory, not delay. Even in the moments of silence, when the world had not yet echoed my inner declaration, I knew it was already moving, like a seed beneath the soil, invisible but certain. I trusted that process. I did not dig it up with doubt. I watered it with words. I nourished it with feeling, and it bloomed in its perfect time, again and again, until the idea of winning was no longer a shock. It was simply the expected outcome, the natural outpicturing of my inner state. And so I ask you now, will you persist? Will you continue speaking the words until they become more real to you than anything else? Will you dare to believe in the invisible? Will you honor your imagination above your senses? Will you choose the reality of your choosing, not the one handed to you by circumstance? Because your desire already exists. It is not being created, it is being received. But you must tune your inner frequency to receive it. Your words are the tuning fork. They align your energy with the state you claim. This is why the repetition matters. This is why feeling matters. You are not saying words to get something, you are saying them to become something, to become the one who already has it, to embody the reality in full. And each time you do, the world reshapes itself around you, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but always faithfully, because the world has no choice. It must reflect what you are, not what you want, not what you need, but what you are. So become the one who has already won. Become the one for whom success is inevitable. Become the one for whom abundance is natural. You do this not by effort, but by assumption, by dwelling in the state, by repeating the truth until it's the only song you hear. That's what I did. 8 times. 8 unfoldings of the same principle. Not because I was different, not because I was chosen, but because I chose. I chose to believe. I chose to persist. I chose to ignore appearances and live from the end. And that end, so vivid, so real, so alive in my imagination, always came. It never failed. It couldn't. Because once you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in it, it must externalize. It is law, not my law, not man's law, divine law, immutable, irrefutable. Even now, as I speak these words, I feel the familiar vibration in my chest. The sense of certainty, the peaceful power of knowing, that same feeling I felt before every win, that inner signal that says it is already done, it is already yours. Nothing more is needed. Just be still, just believe, just speak the truth over and over until it becomes the only reality you recognize. It is done. I have won. Let the words take root. Let them echo inside you until they become part of your breath, part of your identity. Speak them in the morning before the world speaks to you. Speak them at night when the world is quiet and the veil is thin. Speak them in the face of contradiction, and watch the contradiction dissolve. Because your imagination is holy, your word is sacred, your assumption is power. And when you combine them, you tap into the divine. You become the creator you were always meant to be. And nothing, no odds, no delay, no doubt, can stop the one who knows. So now I leave you with this truth. Not as a theory, but as a living testimony. I am not telling you what might happen. I am telling you what does happen, what must happen, when you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled and persist in it without wavering. I won the lottery not once, not twice, but 8 times. Not by luck, not by chance, but by law. And that same law is alive in you now. Let the world call it delusion. Let others laugh. But you will know. You will feel the truth stirring in your soul like fire, undeniable and eternal. You will rise above doubt. You will speak the words, not as a plea but as a decree, and the universe will obey, as it always has, as it always must. So go now, not to hope, but to assume, not to wait, but to become. Step into the end boldly. Walk with the authority of one who already possesses the promise, and say it again and again, until the heavens and the earth echo back your truth. It is done. I have won, and so you shall.